Right, so I decided that I would make you guys something since we're all leaving each other and our lunch table isn't going to be together anymore. And so I decided that you guys must all remember that day when I summarized The Hobbit for you because me and Shaylee are so stoked that we're going to go see it in December, right? So I decided that I'm going to do it again for you. And now you'll have it on film, preserved forever in your memories, so that you can go back and watch this whenever you're missing me. And a particularly sad, lonely day in your college dorm with a box of tissues and a cup of noodles, crying your eyes out because you miss my glorious, beautiful face. Right, so anyway, without any further ado, The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Okay, so there's this guy named Bilbo, right? And he's a hobbit, and hobbits are like really like little small. They're called halflings. They live in the Shire because they're just basically Irish guys. They're just really small. They're leprechauns pretty much, yeah, alright. And they live in these holes in the ground. They have round doors and they like wine and they like to drink and they like to have festivals all the time. Right, so Bilbo is a hobbit. Bilbo Baggins, right? And the Baggins families. They're the aristocrats of Hobbiton, man. They're rich hobbits. They're well thought of. Except for Bilbo's great-great-great-grand uncle, or whatever his name was, Bullroarer, who is like a really huge hobbit. He was so big that he was almost normal-sized, it's pretty intense. And so, one time, he was involved in the Goblin Wars, and he smacked a freaking hobbit's head off, and it like flew.
Its head off.
I mean, a goblin's head off. He smacked a goblin's head off, okay? Because he was a hobbit, alright? So he doesn't kill other hobbits. No, he killed a goblin. He smacked his head off, right? And it flies, and it lands in a hole somewhere or something like that. It's been a while since I read the book.
That's how the game of golf is.
Yes, and that's how the game of golf was invented, as Wyatt, the backseat driver, is telling me, but I already know, and I was already going to say that. But he decided that he thought that he knew what I was going to say, so... Alright, anyway, so, Bilbo, okay? Bilbo's pretty young hobbit. He's pretty young by hobbit standards, and he's pretty well respected. He has good standing in the community. And he's pretty much just going to be content to stay in his hobbit hole for the rest of his life, maybe, and just drink a lot of wine and party all the time. Hobbits are like frat boys. Yeah, alright. So, then one day Gandalf comes. And Gandalf is a wizard. Gandalf the Grey. We already know Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, right? So Gandalf comes. Gandalf's like, hey, Bilbo. And they smoke for a while. Tobacco. Colored. Yeah. And then Gandalf blows his cool smoke rings. They have like this smoke ring blowing contest. But that's not important. Alright, so the dwarves come. 7 dwarves. Not really 7 dwarves, like 14 or 11 or 12 or something like that. Their names are Happy, Dopey, Sleepy, Doc, Grumpy. No, they have really stupid names. Their names are like Biffer, Boffer, Bofirth. There's one named Thorin. He's like the king of the dwarves. He's like this really cool guy. He doesn't like to talk to anyone though. His name's like Thorin Oakenshield, right? Yeah. And so he doesn't like to talk to anyone because he's just too good for them all. So he just kind of stands over there like, oh, fuck you, Hobbit. Alright, so they're gonna go on this mission to go, kill this dragon. This asshole dragon. Because the dwarves, they love treasure, okay? So they hoarded all their treasure into one place. In this mountain. The Lonely Mountain. And then they have all this treasure. And then the fucking dragon steals all their treasure! The dragon steals all their treasure, right? And so they're really upset about that. And they wrote this whole song about it. It's like a long-ass song, and they all sing it. You can see it in the preview where they're like, oh, the trees, the pines we're mowing, or whatever. Alright, so they sing that song, and then Bilbo's like, okay, you guys are kind of depressing. Can you, get out of my house? Because they make, a huge mess, and whenever they come to the house, they're like, oh, I would like a wild boar, and perhaps 17 trout, and why don't you go make me a ham and cheese omelet also, and where's all that wine you like to keep in your cellar for years and years, hoarding it? Anyway, alright, so we're gonna stop talking about the dwarves really, really soon. And they throw all his plates around, they break his damn plates. Or they They make him think that they're gonna break his plates, and it's really sad. It's really sad. Alright, so they leave. Anyway, they take Bilbo with them. Bilbo somehow gets coerced into going on this journey with them, even though he's like this little hobbit, and like he doesn't even want to. I don't know, man. But he wants to go have an adventure. And Gandalf, being the wizard that he is, thinks it's a good idea to tell little, short, like 3-foot men to go on adventures killing dragons, because that's what a responsible adult wizard guy does. Anyway, so they go. And like first thing that happens is they meet these trolls. Alright, that's pretty much the first. I mean, like, some other shit happens, but, like, trolls, alright? That's the main obstacle here. So they meet these trolls, okay? And Gandalf, for some reason, ditches them, because Gandalf always ditches them, and then they get into a shitload of trouble, and then Gandalf come back. You're gonna see this recurring theme in this story that Gandalf constantly is ditching them. Like a dick that he is. Anyway, so, they meet the trolls. The trolls are like... They get captured by the trolls, and the trolls are like, oh, man. There's, like, 3 trolls, right? There's 3 trolls. Yeah, yes, there's 3. And the trolls are like, shit. We got these hobbits and, well, 1 hobbit and these dwarves. I'm pretty hungry, so I think we should eat them. And the other trolls are like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I think we should eat them. And then... all the dwarves are like, shit, they're gonna fucking eat us. Oh my god, this is terrible. But then one of the trolls is like, oh, we should sit on them and squash them into jelly. And the other one's like, oh no, we should roast them. And then the other one's like, no, I think we should fillet them with a nice aged cheese and perhaps some white wine. No, none of the trolls says that really. But, okay, so they're arguing. But then they eventually, they start getting to a resolution of the argument. They think that they're gonna eat one of the dwarves really soon. It's very scary. It was a very scary moment for me because I thought that the dwarves were gonna get eaten. But the dwarves obviously don't get eaten because you've read like this much of the book by that time, and there's like this much book to go. So like it's impossible in hindsight that they would have been eaten at that time. But it's a very frightening moment for us all. Anyway, Gandalf eventually comes, right? Gandalf shows up, and he doesn't do anything cool and wizardy, like, unhand those dwarves and hobbits this instant! Never happens. So Gandalf instead does something really sneaky, and he is like, hey, I think we should cook him. I think we should squash him into jelly. And the other troll's like, no, I thought we decided we were going to roast them! And then, it's really kind of... there's more than one dwarf, right? So why don't they just do all of those things? I don't know. I don't know why they do that. Alright, anyway. So Gandalf tricks them, and they start arguing amongst each other. They're like, oh, fuck you! And then Gandalf's like, your mom's so fat! And then the other troll's like, damn you! And so the trolls argue for such a long time that eventually the sun comes up. And the trolls turn into stone. Because trolls are allergic to sunlight. They're like vampires. Trolls are like vampires. Trolls are exactly like vampires, actually. Trolls are vampires, yes. And so, the trolls get turned into stone. And you can actually see them if you watch the special extended edition, and you can see their faces. You can see their because they stop somewhere when Frodo gets stabbed. Anyway, past the trolls already. Okay, what's the next thing that happens? I don't know, they go through Mirkwood, yeah? They go through Mirkwood first, before they meet, what's his face? What happens? No, I really should have looked over the Spark Notes or something. By themselves. Yeah, they do go through Mirkwood by themselves. First they get saved by some eagles. What the
they run into the goblins, and they get almost burned to death. And Gandalf is with them at that point.
The goblins? Yeah. Oh, yeah! Okay, so they go into this mountains. They go into the mountains. They go there. Alright, the mountains. They go.